I don't know. Holler at him sometimes. I'm sure you'll catch him.
You are.
You see each other.
Yeah, you are. Sort of. I don't need to chat.
Buddy, how are you?
Yeah.
Hi, Sarah. How are you? Very good. You want a chair? That one.
That's all right there.
You want this us?
I didn't.
Make my heart hurt. See, I can walk around. And I know. Actually, fun.
Hey, let's
Because I don't want to
here. For those of you who don't know, my name is Brock. I live here in town, and I guess first thing before we get started, I want to thank Billy and Beth for the use of the building. We always appreciate this thing being here and get some access. And thanks a lot for letting us do this here tonight. Got to say too that there are members of the school board, the Palisade School Board here, and members of the Palisade Village Board here, and I just want everybody to know this is no way affiliated with either one of these boards. This is a coming together of like-minded people to talk about the future of the attendance center and the district here tonight. And most of that, I believe stems from these minutes. And I apologize for this. I mean, like I said, but I think we published it. I think it's all fairly okay. Got to be a way to turn it. Okay. Bill, these will one row go off. You can.
Yeah, there, right behind them. The third one.
Third one?
Third one up. Third one up.
There you go. Okay, that's plenty of them there. So I know it's not very legible here, but this was posted in the Imperial Republican in the paper, and basically it says what I have highlighted. This is minutes from the school board. D-Ray, can we get one of those sections on? That's a little bit dark. I don't want anybody falling asleep on me here. Yep, they all or none, Bill. Hey, there you go. That's perfect. That's perfect. So it is the, and again, this is a snip too, so they're not always the best. February 3rd at 8 o'clock in the morning, they had a meeting. It says there's a lot here to read, and I encourage everybody to follow through with the minutes on all boards, especially our local government. So they are going to focus on the projects on the Juanita campus and work on 4 options for a committee to review, and with the end goal to move all students to Juanita. Okay, so I just want to make sure that everybody's reading that correctly. So they're not moving forward with any construction. They're not moving forward with closing down the attendance center. However, it is stated right here that the end goal is to move students to Juanita, and that's the part that really caught my eye and got me thinking that maybe we better make sure people are seeing this and at least in the know, no matter what anybody's opinion is. You know what I mean? I'm not here to sell anything, you know. So I did a little bit of research, and I do want to reiterate too, we're going to try to finish up, 8:30. But I hope this isn't the last one. I hope this is an ongoing conversation. So we're not going to try to consume the whole evening here. So I got this information from the Department of Education in the state of Nebraska here. And so this is 1991 when we joined forces, so to speak, when we consolidated. So the village of Juanita School District came together with almost $76 million of tax levy. We had 44.9, almost $45 million of tax levy. Now that's what our evaluation was when we joined. And then I got this, the one that I could find in a cursory look here this is a Juanita Breeze article, basically talking about the tax levy and the budget. So in 17-18, our levy valuation of the whole district was $441 million. So what that's saying is we've gone up almost threefold in the course of the last 25 years during this article, okay? And then for those of you, just as a refresher here, for those of you that don't realize where we're at here, this is a map of Hays County, and the old Palisade district is here. And I tried setting this up in an album and I wasn't smart enough. This is Hitchcock County, and then this is the old Palisade district. This is Dundee County, and Palisade is just right back here, and then the Juanita district dips down into all of these little dips down in there for the old Palisade district. I'm sure that's going to have to warm back up now, and when that comes back up. Sure, obviously Chase County. Should have brought an extension cord. I didn't know any better. My apologies. Like I said, we started putting this together maybe last Thursday or Friday, so I really do appreciate it. It's a really good turnout. A lot of people from both Juanita and Palisade. That's great to see the interest, you know.
You can turn the light back on. There you go.
Okay. Yeah, come out. Like as soon as it comes back on, I change the input. Guess I should have asked. Okay. Go ahead, T-Rex. So this is Chase County map, and there's a little bit of, well, most of this, all this section over here is all the Juanita district. And this is the 1991 map, and that leads me pretty good into what we know today as, you know, the gray area here is the Juanita Palisade School District. So the only reason I bring that up is because as I talk to people, obviously, you know, the first thing we do is we get heated up and we get fired up and say, oh, well, we don't need them, we don't need this, we don't need that, we should do this all different. And the reality of it is you know, we've been together for a long time. I don't know that we're there yet, but we do have some concerns on, you know, not just the Palisade building, but the Juanita location too. You know, there isn't one building that's 100 years newer than the old building. We all know that. You know, both of them have deficiencies. So, we know that we're going to have to put money into these facilities, either in refurbishing, rehab, or new facilities, one way or another. And I guess what I'd like to ask is you know, we can. Does anybody have anything to add? Anything concerns or anything that you want to specifically speak of tonight?
Hit the light.
Hmm?
Hit the light.
Yeah, go ahead, D-Ray. So I've been asked about dissolving the school district, and that is possible. I talked to the state of Nebraska about that. It takes either board action or 60% of the registered voters to get started, and the Department of Education still has to okay it when it's all said and done. The state of Nebraska still has to say that you can do it. And the only reason I bring that up because I have been asked about that, so I did what I thought was my due diligence and looked it up. We've had issues with this attendance center from anywhere from, you know, I've heard of roofs in the holes and leaks in the roof. Excuse me. I've heard of sinks not working, bathrooms not working, and somebody said something about the gym floor too. And I honestly I don't know what if anything is going on with the gym floor. I don't have that information. So, but what the attendance center closing would mean, and I see a lot of business people here, is that is a huge hit for any community losing their school. And I think we all recognize that, right? I mean, that's you know, they are probably the single largest employer in our school district. For sure, within the 50 miles between us, they're definitely the largest employer, I would think. I mean, obviously, if they do consolidate, build there, then some jobs will travel, but not all jobs will travel. You know what I mean? It's just not. You just don't need 5 of everything. You know, when you're down to one building. And that's not only jobs there, but it's also people that live here, people that work here, people that support the people that are working here, whether it's a gas station or a grocery store or, I mean, contractors that are working on people's houses. I mean, you name it. You know, I mean, you guys know what it takes to support a community. You know.
I'm going to tell you a little story right now.
Okay.
When they consolidated this school, Juanita, Palisade tried all the other towns too. Okay, Juanita went along and Palisade went along with it. We had a grocery store right over here, doing real good. And the owner at the time, he said, "Oh, that's it. Let's go to Juanita. They're big. They got Hargalows up there." 6 months later, he was closed. That's what happens to these small communities. There's no reason we have to go to Juanita. Not at all. I went to school there. That's a soft spot for me.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people that went to school there. You know, and
Where they made the mistake when they consolidated, it should have been where you had the same amount on the board from Palisade as Juanita. And I don't know, I think there's an agreement in there that they can't close that school down.
We've been looking for that agreement, and as of today, I haven't read through anything that says that. So, what was the last year we graduated from Palisade? 90? Well, yeah, I guess that would have been 90. Yeah.
Scott's class.
So, you know, there's some people around here that experience that.
Well, sure, everybody like to have a school in their own town. I understand that. But people from the other town, Juanita, that ought to have feelings for the people around, for the towns around. I remember when Hamlet had school. Look at it. It's gone.
Yeah. That is a good point. I mean, that's something. I mean, Hamlet's definitely a close one. You also got Dickens, Lebanon, Danbury, Hagler. I mean, you can go down a list in not in just southwest Nebraska, but all of Nebraska to see how it is. And
now Stratton, your elementary school is just about gone.
Yeah,
but we have what, 129, 130 kids going to this school over here?
I don't think they're all from Palisade though.
No, they're not. I agree.
Yeah.
And that's, I don't know if you looked at it or not, Brock, but I'm sure this decision that, you know, the school board's talking about is not emotional. I'm sure it's financial. Could we have our own school? I mean, without being combined?
You know, that's a question that we probably have to look into. I don't know if there are population.
I don't think so.
I don't think there's the numbers anymore.
I don't know if there's statutes to say that. I don't know the answer.
But what's to say we don't go in the middle? I mean, we already have a lack of local business support immensely. I mean, I'm a business owner, and not a person in here has ever came to me. And I don't mean that against any of you. I just mean a startup in a small town like this, and a continuing business already, that's a death to a business. There's a grocery store across the street that not a whole lot of people go shop at because it's cheaper to go to Walmart. And I'm not trying to be biased there because it's my mom, but no, I'm really not. Even when Brock and Steph owned it, there was a lack of support there from the community.
I don't know. I've taken a survey of that, And every 5 minutes there's somebody going into that store.
There is.
And it was that way when Brock and Stephanie had it too. I sat right over here and I counted it.
There's also a grocery store in Juanita that they fight to keep patrons from going to Walmart and spending their money too. But you can't tell people where to go spend their money, Luke. You know what
Right,
I mean?
and I don't want to tell people where to. There's local businesses that we all use every day. There's BW up there. There's Wireless iNet here for internet. Those are two local internet companies. There's a lot of these that you build a school in one place, people are moved to that town rather than 15 miles away. So is Palisade just to putter out like Champion and these little towns?
Well, we hope that, again, these...
I have the next incoming generation out here to go to school. And my concern.
These are just reviewing plans. I want to reiterate that nothing is set in stone. So now is the time for all of us to get involved and stay involved, because if we don't, then we're gonna have an opportunity to not have this attendance center any longer, you know what I mean? And I don't know that there's any answers today. There's definitely no easy answer, I'll tell you that for free. They've been talking about construction, remodel, and everything for a long time. I'm gonna say years. Would that be accurate, Joe? Yeah. So.
When we were working with Hay Center, Dick Finley was the superintendent, and he told me that the long-range plan for this part of the country of Nebraska, the long-range plan is to build dormitories in McCook. The students would go to McCook all week and then come home on weekends. He said that's the long-range plan for the state of Nebraska, the education people. And I can just about believe it happened. It does in the sand.
Yeah, I've never heard that. I mean, obviously, I'm not a part of that. If that's something that they want to try to do, then that's one more fight we're going to have to fight. And that's not just going to be us. That's going to be way more than just our district. That's something that has to come along. So,
where do you draw the line in the sand? Is my question. Everybody here has seen the state of the school down here. Everybody's seen the state of the school in Juanita. Where do you say, hey, this is how much money we're willing to put here. This is how much money we're willing to put here. I mean, it could cost $5 million to fix this school up properly.
it could cost the same thing in Juanita.
It could.
Yeah.
I mean, just to fix the school. If you wanted to put this school in perfect working condition, where do you stop that? I mean, how much is too much? That's my biggest question. That's the reason I'm here.
Well, how much is too much of a loss? There's more at stake than just dollars and cents, in my opinion. There's also livelihoods, homes, and I'll tell you, property valuation too. If there isn't a school here in town, the levies are going to decrease. There's just no two ways about it. That's what they all have done. And also, we won't have the same say that we do with an attendance center here. You know what I mean? We lose that identity. We lose that identity. When you have all your students, in my opinion, when you have all your students traveling one direction, so you have, let's pretend for a second that we won't have a population decline in Palisade, which I think is not realistic, but let's pretend that. So you have a third of your school now traveling to Juanita. Well, it doesn't matter how you do it, eventually, or at least initially, you're going to have some pariahs. You're going to have some distance. You're going to have a sense of separation. Where now, and I think Stratton would agree with this, where you have your population traveling both ways, the cost is up, but the unity is vastly improved that way. And again, that's my opinion. Everybody's entitled to their own, and would be happy to hear it. But traveling back and forth to keep these communities united is a big deal, in my opinion. And none of it's cheap. None of it's cheap. as any property owner will tell you, I think our levy's 93 cents right now for what we pay on our valuation. Pretty close to that anyway. You know, so it all adds up. You know, and I'm not a huge property owner, and there are some big property owners in the area, and you know, obviously they carry the brunt of it, but we all pay our part. You know, so exactly. I mean, that's my opinion, Landon. You know what I mean? I know that there have been many plans, many different directions throughout the years, and I suppose probably the biggest issue that we have is either it doesn't get disseminated down to us, the locals, and that's the biggest issue, because we don't know what the 4 plans are. We don't know what they looked at when they looked at actually redoing the Palisade school or adding. I've heard they're adding pods. I've heard they've talked about doing a dozen different things throughout the years. And again, it's all hearsay and whatnot. I haven't seen anything written. No plans that I know of have ever been presented to the public. The problem with that is, even if they have been, we, the public, haven't been paying attention. So even if there is plans that are being held, sent down for us to review and stuff like that, or special, calls to action for special committees, none of us are paying attention. None of us are doing anything about it. None of us are getting our hands in the air.
That's why you have a board in administration to plan that. I mean, it affects everybody in every community how it is, but that's why there's a board elected to make those decisions, though, I think. So if everybody made a decision on what happened at school, nothing would ever get done.
Well,
every individual person in this room has got
Bobby, is anything getting done now?
Yes, I think so.
Well, I'm concerned about, we've been consolidated for years and years. Where has the money gone that is supposed to be the day-to-day, year-to-year upkeep of the facilities? I mean, why do we let them, and that's board decision, that's board expenditure. Why have we decided as a school district to not reinvest that money into our buildings so we can avoid this situation? So now all of a sudden our buildings are crap, and now we have to spend more of the taxpayer dollars, by the way. It's not the school's money, it's all the taxpayers' money. So it's our money. So why have we not been upkeeping? And why are we in this position that we are right now? That's my concern. Oh yeah.
Spend the money on a new track, yeah.
But why also are we not hearing about it either? Like, you're saying we're missing it. I haven't seen much.
Yeah, I don't know, Larissa. I mean, again,
and that's
are we
also,
asking for anything? I mean, I haven't asked to see these 4 plans. I haven't seen to ask any of this stuff.
But as having a board there, they're there to also present it to the public and to also get it out there so that we do see and that we can have an opinion on it, and also to discuss with board members or community members. We don't see it.
Well, the board would know unless we're
plan.
there too.
Well, as far as we've heard, that's the plan, is that they're gathering information. Obviously, they don't want to present something that's not completed, so why would they just put it out there when they don't have all the answers to the questions that they know people are going to ask? Like, I think it's in the process of being built. I just think it's not ready to present yet.
So that is why in any circumstances like this, in my opinion, you need to over-communicate and not under-communicate. But why is there not more information readily available about what the board's doing? Why do I have to search around and wait for the newspaper to find the minutes?
Go to a board meeting.
Yeah, go to a board meeting.
I have gone to board meetings.
Public.
And why aren't the board meetings streamed? Why can't I watch the board meetings at home? Why can't we all watch the board meetings at home?
But we do have members here that are at the board and administration. I mean, I'd like to hear what they have to say. Like, what is,
Go ahead.
Yeah, so far, all I've heard is a lot of emotion. And most of it, a lot of it's about the community. Okay? The purpose of the school is for the children, for education. I've not heard anybody talk about that. What is the best solution for the kids? I see the school bus go down my road, north of Juanita, at 6 o'clock in the morning, just so they can get out there and pick the kids up, bring them to Juanita, transfer them to Palisade, and vice versa. That's a lot of extra time on the end of both ends of the day for that 5-year-old. I think that one attendance center makes a whole lot more sense in that respect. Just for the kids.
But that wouldn't change.
Dollar wise, you're trying to maintain 2 facilities. You're doubling up on staff in a lot of cases. Janitor staff, kitchen staff, the transportation back and forth. Those dollars could be better spent, I believe, in one facility. And like I said, the end goal is a better education for our children. It's not about whether you preserve Juanita or Palisade or both. It's about the kids.
Can I add to that, Dwayne? So if you wanna build, they wanna build it in Juanita, so that means my 5-year-old has to ride on the bus for just twice as long, so the Juanita kid
Well,
doesn't have to ride on the bus for that long? So that's the one-sided thing I see here.
Well,
Is they
the
wanna
way
build
it
it
is,
in
we have our
Juanita.
children going both ways.
Yeah, I mean, she's gonna do it for
My 5-year-old did it.
6 years after her, yeah. Nothing's wrong with that. I'm not saying it's wrong, John, I'm just saying, if we wanna build it in Juanita, then that makes your kid have to ride it that long. Dwayne's worried about, you know, the kids in North Juanita having to ride it extra long time.
My kids did it.
I did it too, John. I graduated out of
It
Juanita.
didn't hurt.
Yeah, I hope it.
Was it right?
Can you tell me why it would be built, and why don't they build it here then? If they're gonna build a new facility, why don't they build it here? Why don't they build it in Hamilton?
That kid's getting a mouse shut.
You have all the answers?
Innocent time.
With that, if they built this new school in Palisade, why couldn't you talk to Hay Center, Trenton? All these schools are 15 minutes, 3 different directions. You can consolidate 3 schools into one town and bump them up in class in sports. You can, instead of paying that many teachers, they wouldn't have to. Then with the taxes, like if they move everything to Juanita, is the Hitchcock County taxes gonna go to Juanita?
They already do.
Yeah, but they're going to both schools. If they shut this school down, it's not really right for our taxpayer money here to go up there because it's still a different county.
They're gonna have to go somewhere.
Educating our kids.
They gotta go somewhere. It's gonna be going somewhere else no matter what.
My whole point earlier was, we're supposed to be together. That was my spiel. And as far as education goes, both sides have traveled for all this time, just as much as the other. I have rode that bus more than enough times. Early in the morning, getting home late. That is what it is. We're supposed to be together. And I don't want one town to die more than the other. Juanita's great. There's a great gun shop there. There's a great automotive shop there.
Of course you bring that up. Priorities.
There's great things in Juanita, and there's great things here. And I just want to see it stay together.
Would it still be Juanita Palisade, or would it just be Juanita's?
It would still be Juanita Palisade, because when the districts merged, my opinion is, I have yet to see the merger agreement. We are still looking for it. I'm an outsider serving on your board. I did grow up in the area, but I did not go to school here. I will tell you, how I viewed this whole thing is, when the merger happened and there were a lot of heated arguments over it, and I will tell you, several of you in this room today still have grudges because there is a line drawn in the sand. I will tell you, I view it as, when these 2 schools came together, Palisade Public Schools no longer existed. Juanita Public Schools no longer existed, and you became a Juanita Palisade. And yes, Juanita was the only one that would come to the table and visit with you all. And for your reference and for your information, we have talked to Hayes Center more than 3 times about trying to help them out with their situation.
And they won't budge.
And they will not budge. I'm going to tell you, on the 3rd time, I said to them, you've now come to us 3 times. We don't need you. We have a great school with the population. And I said, you want us to provide something for you? Well, as your board president today, I said, I want something in return, and that is you unify with us. And you prove to us that you are serious about wanting to do something with us. And guess what? They had 4 new board members who had no idea what unification meant, scared them to death, and guess what? Kids now drive back and forth between Maywood and Hay Center. So I want you to know, I feel like, number one, we do listen to you. And that's why I'm here today. There isn't a one of you that has come to me and asked what the future plans are. And quite frankly, as a board, we are listening. We haven't made any formal decisions, but if you would read further into those minutes that were published, we hired a firm, and it's called First Capital Markets. Carl Dietz is a former superintendent from Ogallala, from Wilcox-Hildreth, from Eustis Farnham. And he is the one that put together the feasibility study. And he shared with us, you will be a more efficient district if you run one campus. The other thing I want to share with you, the 3 common complaints we get. Number 1 are tax askings. Number 2, how much time are we spending on the bus? And number 3 are how we're scoring on our NSCAS tests, which change every year. Those standards do not stay the same long enough so our kids can even begin to succeed at them. So, what did we learn? Mr. Dietz said, the research shows if you have all of your students in one campus, the studies show that those test scores should go up. Again, we haven't had the opportunity to do that. But every time we end a board meeting, we talk about we are doing what is best for your kids. My children have ridden the bus both directions also. Again, I grew up riding the bus an hour and a half every day, one way. And I grew up in the middle of nowhere. But that's because my parents chose that. And so when people call me and complain about your long bus ride, I always say, number 1, you don't have to ride the bus. That is just a service we provide. You're not required to ride the bus. But number 2, you choose to live where you choose to live. We all love the places that we live and we call home. You have pride in that, just like you have pride in your town. We have pride in this district. I am super happy to say that we continue to keep a steady enrollment. And we're very happy. Yes, we brought on preschool. Some think that's a bad thing. Others think it's a good thing. I think it's an opportunity for us to solidify what our enrollment's going to be. So we are here to listen. There is nothing set in stone. Yes, as a board, we all agree that we could be more efficient to have one campus. Now, if there's a huge compelling argument the other direction, and as we start listening and unrolling things, we will be out there listening to you, okay? So I would ask you in your heart of hearts, nobody wants to lose the town. Harper Roads is no longer a viable business in our Juanita community, right? It can happen to all of us. But we all now have a co-op that is no longer available. So all of us, for the most part, are bringing our tire work here. Do you hear us complaining that we're driving that? No, because we're thankful that Andrew did that. So again, I think we all support ourselves really well. I think you support those Juanita businesses because you like to shop there. And we support businesses here because we like those things. And again, bottom line, we need to do what's best for kids. So I would ask that educationally, and we talk to all of our students when they graduate, we want you to come back to our communities. So let's think about what it is that's going to attract those kids to want to come back. Okay? So I will get off of that, but I wanted to answer because I think those were some questions. So there. Again, we are here to listen. That is why we are here. So, and I care.
Yeah. Thank you, Allison. You got something?
Thank you. You're right on the spot right there, but you're not looking far enough forward. And if you want to really get into it and understand the money and understand the people and understand the law, you need to be sitting in Lincoln. You need to be down there because you miss out every day. You need to be 20 years in advance when you set something up. We blew it. I was on the committee as a student for the 76-77 Junction School. They blew it. They were looking right. Everything was going great. We didn't sell it. I mean, the students from all of the surrounding schools, we were all together. We were on it. We were together. But we did not sell it. So we lost out because of basically the Hitchcock County vote. Now you have, if you've been to Lincoln, you'd understand the rules. They set base numbers on these kids in student enrollment of the school. You have to comply for so many years. You get a grace period of jump in there in case you dip below the number. I'm not going to squeal on anybody, but check out Hayes County. They haven't been in compliance.
Yeah, and I don't even know what that compliance is. I'm sure there's a line, there's a bottom line
How
somewhere.
many of our school board members have been to Lincoln, know the people of Lincoln, know to understand, meet those people, understand the rules, and what is set up for you to be available to you? Money, numbers, grants, all the opportunities are down there, but you have to about live there to understand what they're doing. They don't care. You are a number. Alice is right. It is just the best possible way is to consolidate in one spot. The opportunities come to you by being larger in Lincoln. They'll look for you. They will help you. The surrounding geographic, like you said, 15 minutes. We've got East County, not in compliance. We have short numbers of Stratton, Trenton, Culbertson. Okay. It'll all absorb if you put things 20 years from now, you know, you gotta guess, but you've got to look far enough ahead. We didn't look far enough ahead. We did not push the envelope hard enough. And I regret we didn't.
This was a junction school. What is this? Was this a 25 and 6? Is that where it was going to be?
But see, right now, you have to be in a municipality because of insurance bonds, your water issues, your sewer issues, your maintenance stuff. Under the state rules, when you build a new school or even for the additions, you still have to comply. If you don't, you're limited numbers and limited years. And if you lose out, they take the money. I mean, it's kind of you're supposed to police yourself. This is up to your school board. I try to stay away from it. My kids are grown. I've caused a lot of trouble over the years. And I'm old enough that I try to stay out of trouble now. So I said my piece, and Al said you were right.
Bill brought up a good point in terms of state aid. I got to go back. By 15 years ago, our school district, I'm going to go back and talk what you're talking in terms of the legislators in Lincoln. We received $1 million in state aid. $1 million, okay? So then what's happened is that shrunk. I think my first year as superintendent 10 years ago, we had $43,000. So in about 5 years, we went from $1 million, and I've got those facts. I'm not just shooting from the hip. 5 or 6 years, went from $1 million to about 43. Okay, and so we have had to ask, you know, a little more on our taxpayers. But I will say also, our tax askings have gone down 6 years in a row. We're trying to be prudent. And to answer Stephanie's question, there's only so many things we can be proactive on in repairing buildings. You can't predict certain things are going to go wrong. We have spent thousands and thousands of dollars in both buildings. In renovation, repair, we got a QC Puff loan for a new boiler in Palisade 10 years ago. That was $100,000. You know, with QC Puff that because we couldn't afford to pay for it right away. So we've done various things like that in regard to our our resources as far as state funding and all that kind of stuff. We keep involved with our local senators, and I've gone down to the roundtable discussions. And
board members really need to make the trip.
Right.
They really need to set in on some of that. They really need to get to know so they can just call on the phone and ask a dumb question. I don't care how dumb it is, ask it, because that's how we found out how we blew it.
And so we catch it from maybe the other end in terms of doing the consolidation of Chase County. And my response when an application says, "What about Chase County?" My first question is, "What happens if I say?" All of a sudden, they're 35 miles from the school. But we do have a push of patrons that people that would like to go to Chase County. We don't want to do that. We want to be one of the Palisade. And I will tell you that this stuff, we've talked about stuff, it's in preliminary stages, okay? But Stacy's right, we don't want to get any information out there that's not factual, that, you know, until the final decision is made, okay? And to do that, there has to be informational meetings in both communities, okay? So without an informational meeting in both communities, no information's gonna, you know, I mean, no decisions are gonna be made. So, you know, that's a lot of it right there, is that we need to have informational meetings. We have those planned. We just have to set a date for them. Okay? So informational meetings have been in the works. And I will tell you, we have looked at, what, Joey, was 4 years ago? We looked at, BD Construction came and we toured Palisade, and they put, some of the board members were on. They put a plan together for building. We've got all that information on a new building in Palisade. Okay? So then we're asked to be more, you know, more prudent with our taxes. We're told one building would do that. We just simply take a look at what if, answering those questions, thinking outside the box, without forgetting that there's a community here, okay? And there's people here, and there's good people here. I grew up 12 miles on farm from Palisade, Nebraska. I've known a lot of good people in Palisade growing up. There's good people there. So, you know, you just want to throw and kick people under the curb either. That goes back to what Dwayne said, maybe is what's best for kids in the long run, and what are we willing to ask our taxpayers to do.
What gets most of the people in trouble? What got us in trouble? We didn't convince that people that had kids in school right then because of the personal feelings. If we would have got away from, if we would have asked a 5th grader, we would have got a better answer. I'm not kidding you.
I was in 4th grade, I know.
But we tried to sell it to the people that had kids in the school, and we couldn't do it because of my kid in this sport, or this class is speech class, or this for, you know, it's all personal. Now, if you jump to 20 years, and you look at geography, money, the opportunity of the kids of, well, let's say your grandkids, the opportunity that would be available to you if you do this right. Band-Aids never fix a bullet hole. You have to do this job right. You've got to look and guess 20 years in advance what this area is going to look like. And I shouldn't say it, but under the administration we've got right now, it's not looking good. But, you know.
Not new.
I mean, yes.
What's not looking good?
I thought I should point that out. I knew what he meant.
He still has grudges for being in high school. He's got grudges for being in high school. I remember when they talked about school at the junction. I was in high school at the same time Bill was, so. Anyway.
I was one of the kids that toured all of the schools when I was a 7th or 6th grader. Before we went and combined with Juanita, and we went to Hastings, or we went to Trenton. Juanita was the better option, and I have never, ever thought anything different about that. I've loved Juanita Palisade since the day it started, and I hate to see
And so do my kids.
anything ever disinvolve that, completely not have that be what it is. And we toured all the other schools, and the better option was Juanita. And as kids, the school board then listened to us about where we wanted to go and why we thought it was a better option. And there was other things that played into that, but we actually got to go tour the other schools, and I was involved in that. And I've never, ever thought that I made the wrong decision. So it's a good thing. I am on the same page. I don't want to see Palisade die. I don't want to see Juanita die. And I want to see my kids' grades go up and them succeed and get scholarships all over the place. They're both getting close enough now. I probably won't see that because I know how these plans work. They take time. And both my kids will probably be out of school when all of this happens. hoping that Juanita Palisade will still be a thing when my kid graduates. So, my last day. So, that's my piece.
Bill, when you say a Band-Aid, we don't want to put a Band-Aid on it, but what would be the Band-Aid? Keeping Palisade open, keeping Juanita and Palisade
No,
open,
you just
or
keep
the
spending
Band-Aid
money.
just Juanita?
No, not necessarily, because finances kill you. I understand how old these buildings are in both places. I'm not against fixing stuff until it's not feasible. My Band-Aid on both, it's just the same. But anyway, either way you do it, look 20 years down the line. Don't be spending, we spend money, like you said, that $1 million didn't go far enough for nothing. So we spend, let's say 5 somewhere, but did it gain anything? Or did it just buy you another little bit of time?
Right,
Because your
look at
facilities
20
are
years down
shot.
the road, Juanita could, we already have quite a few kids that maybe go to McCook or go to, Chase County, 20 years, a lot of things could happen.
I know. But look at it this way. Let's say there is no class C and D anymore. Let's say there's no D1, D2. So let's say, get smart. See what I'm saying? 20 years from now, what do you think? What's the population done in the last 20 years? Look what the business has done, and look what the economy has done. And it's very ugly right now because of the administrations that we have. So you can't really do much right now because the investment is gone. There's nothing to invest in that is protection. So the state is going to have to do the same thing with their money, is protect their money. So you won't be able to get money like the aides in these smaller classes. If it doesn't come back, they take away those classes, say 10 years from now, they take away those classes. Where are you going to be if you spend a shitload of money on one of these facilities? You're going to be left out, gone. All of them gone. Let's say you build a facility big enough that they close everything down and you're sitting geographically close enough, highway travel under the numbers and within the grasp of that state number, it's all hypothetical.
Well, I'm sure Hayes Center knew, when they built their gym, I'm sure they didn't expect to graduate 2 seniors every year.
Yeah, they didn't. But they did not expect what's going on either. None of us really thought it would be this bad, but we expected it to be bad. I expected them to have done away with the classes about in the early 90s there. I expected them to go to 2 classes. Do you realize they build a new school in these bigger cities every 5 years? The population moves to those big cities because opportunity. Yet they don't have the facility, so they take our money to build a new school. I don't win this, go to no school, get too many. We're out here in no man's land. We got to protect ourselves and think that we're not going to have the money. We're not going to have the money. We're not going to. So you're going to lose. It's a lose-lose. The money kills us. The population kills us. So you just got to guess.
Can I say something really quick? I guess one way I look at it is when the communities are healthy, the school's healthy. When the school's healthy, the community's healthy. We work together, although we don't always work together, and we probably should more. When Cammie just opened a new gas station out here, which is crazy. The economy is horrible. I'm just going to throw that out there. It's horrid. But how cool. We now have a gas station that employs several people out there. I employ 10 people at my store, which isn't crazy because I'm a small town grocery store, but I still employ 10 people. Maybe we should, as businesses, board, should start working together on how we can bring people back here. How we can get people to want to come back and work together. Because when we're healthy, you're healthy. And when more people move back here, But what I'm afraid of is if we're not healthy here in Palisade, it's going to affect the school one way or another. So how can we work together? How can we bring people back here? And people aren't going to come back to work at a grocery store. There's not. But there's a lot of businesses around here. So maybe we should work together to make sure that our community and school together are healthy. Because that benefits both of us, very much so. I worked at the school. I know the problems in both buildings. Not quite as much as Joe. I went to school here. My kids are going to school here. My kids have their best friends. One of them is your son. I want to see us do great things. But I want to see it as all of us. The communities, the school. Because when the communities aren't healthy, it affects your enrollment. It affects everything. So maybe we should start trying to work together. I know that doesn't answer the issues at the table right now.
Well, I don't know that there is an answer for the issues at the table right now.
There's,
you know what I mean?
I wouldn't want to be in your spot.
Questions are at this point is the trick, you know.
There's lots of questions.
The issues in reality is both buildings are, they're old, they're done. How many dings does the school get when the inspector comes? How many times do you guys have to walk through that building and he's gonna hit you for this and this and the whole book?
The fire escape.
The fire escape. It's not handicap accessible. A kid breaks his leg and he can't go to his classes. One building is what we need, but I mean,
no matter which way you go, if you go to Juanita or you go to
there's
Palisade,
going to
you're
be
gonna lose
backlash
people.
from both sides.
If you shift to Juanita, people from Palisade, some of them aren't going to want to go to Juanita anymore because it's just not what we want.
Well, do you agree with, would we go to Ace Center and then Anna will go clear to Maywood?
Some people shift to Trenton. Some people might shift to A Center. I feel like if you just say, okay, school's in Juanita, some people are going to shift and go the other way. If you say school's in Palisade, some of the Juanita people are going to go Chase County. You're going to lose people regardless. So.
I live in Juanita, and I'd never vote for a new school in Juanita. I would be all for adding on to the one we have, but I would never vote for a new school in Juanita. It just never going to happen. I mean, you can't put a new school in Juanita. You go to Prairie Hill, it's no brainer that it's to build a new school. This is not feasible. Adding on to one, making one better is the way it is. The same way here. You're not gonna build a new school in Palisade and hope to draw people. You're gonna have to build it down the road a ways to meet in the middle. Well, that don't help Palisade out. That don't help Juanita out doing it either way. So I mean, you're gonna lose a school no matter what if we don't figure out how to make what we have work one way or the other. So I mean, I'd be mad if they just said hey, we're gonna build a new school in Juanita and goes it down and build a new one. That don't work. So I wouldn't.
Judge, you have something you wanted to?
Yeah, the unique, I guess, overall perspective. So low income living speaking, but I guess I'm old enough that I had to pop a few of these thoughts in the room, so maybe I am. Okay, but I was a student at Culbertson when they consolidated with Trent Amstrad at the time. My mom was on the school board at Culbertson at the time, had been for years, and there's still people there that don't speak to her today because she voted to consolidate schools, but it was the best decision for the kids at the time, and that seems pretty crappy for me to say because I didn't even go to that school. So a very, like I said, very unique perspective. Obviously, I did a situation. My dad had been at A Center for years and years. I went to A Center in my 2 years there. They ran 2 failed bond issues to build a school, and then before I graduated, they passed a bond issue to build a new gym in the school. And there was, in both those situations, as a kid, I didn't really realize what was all going on. Even I didn't understand it. I didn't have quite even the perspective of some of you guys that were kids when this all happened. But I definitely can see a lot of emotion in both of those things, and that's just real. When you talk about your kids, when you talk about your schools, when you talk about what's going to happen in your communities when you do anything that's going to have a huge impact on those two things, a lot of emotions come out. That's reality. But nothing you can do about those emotions other than try and not make decisions on your emotions and try to talk to people who have good information and get information rather than just talk what we think is going on or what we think might be going on or what we think what might be going on here. But I've been here now for 10 years. I'm a Juanita Palisade person now. People ask me where I'm from, I say Palisade. Sometimes I throw out Hamlet just to throw people off. But, you know, this is now my home. And I'm really proud of that. And so, and what I'm very passionate about in our school is for our kids to see, like Luke over here, who is a welder now, on a lot of things that he got from his home and his family and his parents, but a lot of things he learned in our school. And seeing just the successful kids, when they get out of our school, whether it's going on to college to become whatever it is they're going to be, or going right into the workforce or whatever, that is what I care about, is seeing our kids go on and be successful after high school in whatever different avenue that may be. I do not like test scores, but they are real, and they are things that we got to do better at, that I don't like them. But I think you see a lot of our kids that go after school, and you see a lot of really good things when they get out of high school from almost all of our kids, and that tells a lot about what we're doing. On this, my thought, and I've been able to see some of the, I have probably a little more just information off the but I've been lucky enough to see some of the meetings, get some of the information that's there. But I think our school board is in the gathering information phase, and the school board members, I guess, shut me up if I'm saying something I shouldn't be saying. But they're in the gathering information phase. The school board made a decision, public meeting, to hire a firm to do a feasibility study, and they presented some information at the meeting that you showed the minutes of. They presented some information. There was a lot of things talked about. They presented some information on why some things are wrong. Like Mr. Geyer said, I think Mr. Geyer's got maybe 3 or 4 different sets, not all while he was here, of plans to build a building in Palisade. That's at different times that people have looked at building a new school in Palisade, because it's, if anything is done to that school, it's like, and even financially, what the BD construction guy, Mark Lewis, who was listed in that article, he said, I've looked at these, and you could full-blown remodel that for the same price you can rebuild a school for. So he literally works in schools and hospitals, that's what he does, and he's got a very good tap on what those things cost. But what I see is your school board is gathering a lot of information. Like Mr. Geyer said, they're not going to make a decision under the table without telling people what's going on in the dark night. That would not be good for anybody. They're getting information. They're going to present that information, and then you can, once you get a lot of really good information, you can take some of that emotion out. You can see, now the emotion's still going to be there, but once you know what exactly, okay, this is an option, and this is what it will cost, and this is some things that we think it will impact our kids, and that it will affect our communities. We don't know for sure. A lot of those things are very, we don't know. Billy's spot on talking about 20 years down the road. We could predict that really well. You'd be probably really rich, but like that's exactly, that was one of the questions the feasibility guy before, I believe before he was hired, asked our school board, what do you guys want in 50 years?
And he actually said, do you see yourself here 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 50? How much?
And then the school board answered that question without any doubt. We want to have Juanita Palisade schools here, not just 5, 10, 15, 20 years, but in 50 years. We want a Juanita Palisade schools here a long time. And so, and then that took the process forward. And so I guess what I'm hearing a lot of emotion. I'm hearing a lot of concerns about our community, about our kids, and that's real. And that, I think Brock is on it. You guys, you need to be informed. You need to know what's going on. But you're not going to get any more informed by talking to each other. No offense to each other, but you just, you can guess, you can think, and somebody maybe talk to somebody, and maybe talk to somebody else who might have some information that by then is not very accurate anymore. Even though no one's lying, no one's not telling the truth. It's how information goes. But you've got 3 people, school board members sitting in this room, superintendent, who would talk to you and tell you, if you call them, if you come see them. I know Mr. Geyer's got a very open door policy. And then, like I said, there's going to be information meetings before anything happens. They're going to want to get your input. And so I'm very excited about how many people are here, just because we know how much everyone cares about kids in our school. I encourage you to keep to care about the kids in the school that much all the time. Thank you. A lot of you guys have talked to me about stuff over the years that I've been involved here, and asked about things and asked what can we do better here, and we've tried to do things better. Haven't always maybe, but I think we have a great school. I think we have 2 amazing communities, and I think we have a great school board that is also going to do things in the right way and going to get everyone information and get input and make a decision that might come down to a community decision anyway. You might, there might have to be a vote on whatever.
Any major construction is gonna require a vote.
Yeah, exactly. So they've got, my point is we can get all riled up right now and be angry and get upset with people and get upset with each other or get emotions going and be like that for about the next 6 months or however long it might be. And then we'll actually find out more information and go on from there. But you need to be involved, talking and asking questions. So sorry that got long, but that's my thoughts.
Thank you for that. And to finish up with what Mr. Fresh was saying, that's more what my vision for tonight was. Just making sure people at least understood that there's going to have to be some changes because we see the condition, we see what's happening. I mean, I think nobody's oblivious to the condition of both schools, right? I mean, there's going to have to be something. And I don't think any of us know what it's going to be tomorrow. I mean, that's not where we're at. But I just encourage us to, we did a lot of venting tonight, and I think that was good. I think that's a good first steps. But I really encourage us to stay in communication and keep some open minds and, and let's help each other pay attention on what's going on, make sure our elected officials have got their feet held to the fire. That's part of our job as citizens, as taxpayers. That's what we have to do. So, yeah. Well, I'm thinking about wrapping it up. I mean, we've all kind of we've got a vibe. I think everybody sees the same thing. We all understand something's going on. We all have similar concerns, whether it's for Juanita, for Palisade, for the students, for the taxpayers, for the tax dollars, for realistically the future of this district. I mean, and I think. I don't think there's going to be any simple answer. I don't think there's going to be any answer soon, to be honest with you. And if you're not paying attention, I think you ought to, because we're still a ways down the road, So,
Brock, I did have one more thought on Missy's question in terms of working together. If anybody that owns a business or any ideas at all on how we recruit more students to come back, we have them in high school. We could talk to them. If anybody has any ideas on how we can do that, I think that'd be great, because I will probably say over half of our teachers are Juanita Palisade graduates, over half our teachers. So we're constantly recruiting our kids. What are you going to do when you get out of high school? What are you going to go to college? What are you going to do? If you want to be a welder, great. My dad was a welder, a farmer. I mean, you want to be a teacher, we want you back here. And so we've recruited a lot of them, and I think if you can plant those seeds with them when they're younger, that kind of plants the seeds, and then they can kind of put a plan together when they go to a trade school or a college or whatever. So if anybody has any ideas on how we can recruit and keep our students in Southwest Nebraska, we're all ears. So thank you.
Well, I might jump in then.
Yeah, go ahead.
Provide a few different perspectives, I guess. 100 years ago when we built these schools, I don't think we've had a single regret since then financially. We haven't looked back and said, boy, I wish we didn't spend that money. And I get that everything gets more expensive. I get that it may seem unfeasible or impractical, but at the same time, we have to look past that and say, maybe it's an investment now, and maybe it comes out of our taxes and in our pockets, and it's an investment into another 100 years, and look what we get out of that. You look at the turnover right now. We have two sets of baby boomers, and I hate to say this, but the community's changing over, and as our grandparents are on their way out, and I love them to death, we have somebody replacing that. And what's replacing that right now is us and our kids. People want to move back and they want to have kids here, and that's a great thing to have. And because of that, you looked at Palisade 5 years ago, and we lost our grocery store, we lost our gas station, we lost our tire shop, if that's what you called it. At some point, we thought this community was done.
Yeah.
And a couple people came out and said, you know what, I'll take the bold approach. I'll build a business, I'll invest in it, I'll probably not get the money back. How much money do you put in a credit union that you won't get back? And yet we have that because somebody did that. And I think it's apparent that, yes, we want to invest in this community. We're ready to do this. We want this community here. We want it for our kids. We want a good community. And yes, it's gonna cost us, and yes, it's gonna be complicated. The one story I would tell you, and this was the reality check for me in having one school, is when I worked at Chase County, we had a drug outbreak. And a lot of the high school kids were doing drugs in school. And the reality hit as soon as they said, you know what, my brother and my sister in kindergarten is just down the hallway. My 5-year-old brother is down the hallway, all these kids are dealing drugs. And you can't prevent that, but at the same time, when you cram everybody in the same school, you get that influence. You get every bit of that, and there's no separation. And without that, that's what we're left with. And I think as a parent that we need to understand that, yeah, we need these schools. We need this school in Palisade, and we need one in Morita. Maybe it's not practical, but practical is not always the best approach. You know, if you live off logic, you eventually run out of logic. You know? And so that's the difference, is how many people walk into Palisade every single day because there's a school here? 20, 30, 40, 50, what about a game? How much business does Juanita get because there's a game there? That's
Not much, because nothing's open after a game.
Maybe a different town. But the point is we need people in town. Without bodies going through town, they're not going to hit the gas station, the grocery stores, the tire shops. And yeah, it's going to cost money, but that's fine. Why are we so afraid to invest in our own communities? And that's the question we got to ask ourselves. Can we do this? When they put a bond on our plate and say, yeah, you want this, this is what it's going to cost you, can we say yes to that? Can we pay that difference? And I'm willing to say I would. Because I like when Luke comes back and starts a business, and I like when our kids are back here. And I would hope that they wouldn't get kicked out of the school for trying to provide a business, but, you know, that's our chance to invest. And I think we do it, and we don't look back, and we don't have regrets about it, and we just move forward because we know it's the best thing to do, period.
Hey, I think, yeah, Bill.
Before you close, just in case somebody does not know the process, like you said, this is just an informational. Just break it down to them, to how it works for the process to get to the bond issue before the vote and how it's set up for them to vote.
Go ahead, take that.
Go ahead, Andy, I'll let you do that.
In terms of,
Like we start right here. This is the informational meeting.
Yep.
And then next step, after the information is, then we line up for a petition, basically. Means I'm going to have to do this. Have a petition to get it brought to a vote. And then the bond issue vote because of the money. It's a process. And you can't hurry it.
Yeah. No.
You still got to hit the elections. You've got a lot of time to work out all these problems, if you want to call them a problem, or if you want to call them progress. And I hope it's progress. I don't want to cause trouble for anybody, but you know good and well it's going to hurt somebody. Let's put it this way, in order to be number one, somebody had to lose. And that's a sports thing. It's a life thing. In order for me to make money off agriculture, it's got to be somebody else's damnedest disaster from hell, or I don't make any money. And that's just the way it is. But I'm a farmer. I bleed farmer. Now running a business is a little different. You got a little bit more protection because you can bounce around with the things. You don't get that option as a farmer. But basically, you've got a lot of time to set these programs up and talk to these board members and talk to people. Hash it out amongst yourselves. Don't make it a war, because it's not a war. It's going to be a win-lose, but in the long run, like I said, 20 years. If we would have looked 20 years, I think we would have had that school down there in the 70s. I really did. But we did not look far enough ahead. And in my progress, if I'm looking 20 years from now, I'm saying we're not going to have the classes at the state level. I think them are going to disappear. That is my opinion. I don't know what anybody else thinks, but I really do expect to lose those classes. And so we've got to just hash this process slow with them in order to get to an election. And then we'll be, once we get to an election, that means 99% of us are probably in an agreement of something to vote on that bond. If we do it wrong, we're going to be fighting each other all the way to the bond vote, and it's just going to cause trouble. All it's going to do is cause trouble. So we need to get all on the same wave, somewhere close to it, before this bond issue comes up. Like I said, you got a lot of time. Meetings, the more meetings, the better. And if you can, and Randy got the time, sit in the office, talk to him. I don't spend enough time talking to him. I used to be in Lincoln a lot. I don't even know the office people down there anymore. I don't call down there anymore. I'm supposed to be retired, and I probably work harder now in retirement than I ever did. But the process needs to go through itself, and it will work out. And if we look far enough ahead, I think everybody will be satisfied. And just get away from your own kids' feelings and your feelings, and look 20 years down the line. And I may be all wet, but that's my advice from being through this umpteen times. I was into battle merger in my life, was on the board maybe for the 90s.
91?
Yes.
Consolidation, yeah.
Yep, and my kids went to school there. So, I mean, I'm not against it. It was a good move. It was the move for the time. There were no options. We tried all the options. They did a good job of it. Wound up in the Supreme Court. I mean, jeepers, it was ugly. A lot of people are very dissatisfied. It just happens. It just happens.
Yeah, well, I do appreciate all the turnout, and I'm hopeful that, you know, again, we have to continue this on all fronts, you know. So, thanks for everybody who came from Juanita and stuck with us.
All right.
Keep watching. We'll get some information. We'll keep on talking about it. Thanks, everybody.